Hey y'all, it's Megan. Welcome back to the channel. Glad y'all are here today. Come spend some time with me today in the kitchen. When it starts getting close to the holidays, I get in a baking, cooking mood. And I don't know, today's just one of those days. I just feel like hanging out in my kitchen today. So, I'm going to bring y'all along to hang out with me. The first thing I want to make is what we call party mix. I know probably most of y'all have had it, like the homemade party mix with the chex mix and stuff in it. So I'm going to show y'all how I make that. I want to go ahead and do that first because it has to cook on a pretty low temperature for about an hour and a half. So I need to get that knocked out of the way. And I'm also going to be making a sweet potato pie. I'm super excited. I'm going to put to use one of these big sweet potatoes we got. And tonight for supper we're going to have some baked spaghetti and some homemade French bread. So we're just going to put this old oven to work today. So you're going to want to put your oven on 250 degrees. You're going to want a good sized pan. I save these aluminum pans. I know you can buy them a dime a dozen, but I always save them until they just get holes in them and you can't save them no more. But we're going to start off with around 4 cups of the wheat chex. The wheat chex always come in a little box. Don't know if there's quite 4 cups in here, but it should be close. Oh yeah. We're going to need 3 cups of rice chex. And 4 cups of corn chex. Two cups of Cheez-Its. Three cups of pretzel sticks. Or you can use, the little pretzels, whatever. I just bought pretzel sticks. And a cup and a half of mixed nuts. I'm probably going to do 2 cups. Andy really likes it with the nuts in it, so we'll do 2 cups of mixed nuts. These things are expensive, y'all. I haven't made any of this since like this time last year. And yeah, these mixed nuts are like crazy expensive. So we're just going to mix all that in. I'm just going to use my hands. We gotta get our sauce made to go in it. So for our sauce, we're gonna start off with 10 tablespoons of melted butter. Yes, 10. You can substitute a little bit of oil in there if you don't have that much butter. It ain't gonna hurt nothing. We're also gonna need 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. 1, 2 teaspoons of salt. I did about a teaspoon and a half to that. Because that is salted butter, so I cut back a little bit from what my recipe calls for. A teaspoon of garlic powder. And of course add more than that if you really like the taste of garlic. And the same goes for any of this. A teaspoon of onion powder. And a teaspoon of Italian herbs and seasoning here. Now you're going to want to mix all that up pretty well. And we're going to slowly pour this over our snack mixture. The way I like to do it is we'll go a little bit like that. That ain't all of it yet, and we'll go ahead and start mixing. Because your key here to have really good party mix, make sure it's mixed really well. And you can tell the stuff that it's gotten on because it's shiny. We'll go ahead and pour the rest of it. Mix, mix, mix. Really, really good. If we can help it, we don't want to see any dry pieces. Everything needs a little shimmer to it. Now, we're going to bake this in a 250-degree oven for about an hour and a half, but we're going to want to get it out and stir it real good about every 30 minutes so everything cooks evenly. That's a very simple, delicious treat that is fun to make around Christmas time. You can put it in little containers and give it to people as little Christmas gifts or part of their Christmas gifts. It's just, everybody usually seems to love it, and I know it's one of Andy's favorite snacks. And why you only make it around Christmas time, I don't know. That's just usually when I think about it. When the weather starts cooling off, that's when I usually think to make it. So, next thing I need to do is I'm going to utilize, if y'all remember back when we got our sweet potatoes up, we had some monsters. This one is actually not one of the monsters, but it's one of the bigger ones. And I'm going to go ahead, I know my oven's only on 250, but I'm going to go ahead and stick this in there, let it be cooking, so it'll have time to cook and cool off before I make my sweet potato pie. Y'all, I was thumbing through our favorite magazine the other night, and I come across this really simple sweet potato pie recipe, and I said, I've got to try that. Our favorite magazine being Backwoods Home Magazine, and I'd like to thank them today for sponsoring this video. Y'all, when they reached out to us, I could not say no to their offer, what they're going to offer y'all, 50% off of your subscription if you go through our link. So, they actually have two magazines, Backwoods Home and Self-Reliance Magazine. Both are absolutely wonderful in their own ways. They're really jam-packed full of very useful information, like the newest version of Self-Reliance Magazine for winter 2024, raising broiler chicks, making natural candles, building a pallet fence, making homemade pasta, and winter canning and building your own seed bank. And that's just a little bit of what you'll find in both of these magazines. Both have a lot to do with gardening, canning, just a lot of DIY self-reliance stuff. Y'all be sure to check it out. 50% off your subscription. You just can't beat it for the amount of information you're going to get there. And I just cannot wait to try out this sweet potato pie recipe. It's going to be great. I got my holes poked in my sweet potato, and I'm just going to stick it in there with my Chex Mix. Then we're just going to let that just slowly cook until it's soft. Alright, my first 30 minutes is up. Let's get this stuff out and see what it looks like. So we're going to want to give this a stir. And see, like I had a little dry corner right there that apparently I had missed. But stirring it again like this really helps you get everything evenly coated. Stick that back in there for another 30 minutes. So the next thing we're going to make is our French bread. So if you're going to be making this French bread recipe, you're going to want to at least give yourself a couple of hours before you start the rest of your supper, because it's going to have to rise a couple of times. So just always keep that in mind. So, not going to lie, I don't always make homemade bread. I do buy loaf bread. But when I do have enough time or I'm in the mood, I love to make homemade bread. And this French bread recipe, I know y'all really going to love it. It's fabulous. Fabulous. And it's easy to make. So you're going to want to start off with a cup of lukewarm water. Not too hot, not too cold, just in between. You don't want it too hot, because if you do, it'll like kill the yeast. But you're going to want to start off with that, and then you're also going to want to add 2 teaspoons of active dry yeast, and we're going to add a tablespoon of white sugar. Just gently mix that a little bit, and you're going to want to let that sit till it gets foamy on top. About 5 minutes usually, something like that. So I'm just going to kind of let that set over to the side before we do anything else. Alright, it's been another 30 minutes on our Chex mix. Let's get it out and stir it again. Alright, last 30 minutes. Now, you can see how our yeast mixture is all foamy on top. That's what I was waiting on. We're going to go ahead and pour this in a bowl. I hope this bowl is big enough. It may or may not be. We'll just see. Now, we're going to add to this a teaspoon of salt. And as usual, guys, I'll try my best to remember to put this written in the description, because I know sometimes it's hard to follow these videos. We're going to add a tablespoon of grease. That's melted lard that I use, but you can use any kind of oil you got. 2 cups of all-purpose flour. That's important. If you try to do this with self-rising flour, it's not going to work. You'll have a weird texture to your bread, believe me. I've tried it. So we're just going to gently get all that combined. And you want to mix it till all the flour is moist, and then stop. Now, from this point, we're going to add in a half a cup at a time until this dough is the texture we need it to be. Now, I will tell y'all with bread making, it is a learning curve. So, if you make bread the first even 2 or 3 or 4 times, and it doesn't turn out just right, you've really got to know what you're looking for in your dough and what you're feeling for when you're kneading the dough. And that's something that I've found comes from doing. That's the only way I know how to explain it. Like, you can sit and watch somebody do it all day long, but until you actually get in there and do it yourself and figure out what stuff's supposed to feel like, look like, as far as bread making goes, that's when you'll get successful. Just don't give up. Keep trying your homemade bread, because believe me, I've made some bad loaves of bread, but I finally halfway figured out anyway what I'm doing. So let's add in another half a cup of flour and mix that in. And I like using the Hudson cream flour. Used to be a big White Lily fan. Still like White Lily flour. Ain't nothing wrong with it. I don't mean that. But I like the biscuits. I like the texture of the biscuits of the Hudson cream. And the bread. I've made bread with it too. Alright. That's actually looking pretty good there. So that may be enough. You can see my dough's kind of crumbly there, pulling away from the bowl just fine. That will work out probably okay. Now, I'm going to flour my cutting board. We're going to knead this dough for about 5 minutes or so. And you'll kind of see how it changes shape after kneading it a little bit. Now, if you got a machine that'll do this for you, you know, I don't think it's even 5 minutes that you have to do it. But I don't have one of those, and I actually enjoy kneading bread. It's kind of relaxing. And if it's starting to stick to my surface, I just continue to put a thin layer of flour on it. And see, that's another one of them things you learn by doing. So you know if your dough is still just a hair sticky, it's okay, because you're going to have to flour your surface anyway, and it's going to pick up that extra flour. When you're kneading bread, it's kind of a push down and push forwards motion. I can't tell you all the technicalities of why. I've read them multiple times, something to do with the gluten and all that stuff. This is another thing, like in the summer I don't really make much bread besides quick breads like biscuits and stuff. Do occasionally in the summer, but it's such a busy time of year. In the fall and the winter, slows down some, and I have time to enjoy being in the kitchen in a different kind of way. Now that we're done kneading, I'm going to put just a little bit of olive oil in my bowl. Grease that up around it. So I'm going to set my dough in my bowl, and we're going to let that rise for 1 hour. And I'm going to set it over here kind of next to my oven so the heat from the oven can kind of help keep this warm. So while this is sitting, I am going to cover it with some saran wrap here, just to kind of keep that bread from drying out. And we'll see what that looks like in about an hour. Our party mix should be about done. Let's go ahead and get that out. It smells wonderful. So I'm going to go ahead and try a piece. Great flavor. Excellent. Nice little snack. Not going to say it's a healthy snack because it's got 10 tablespoons of butter in it, but it's a good snack. So what I'll do is I'll just let that cool completely, and you just store it in an airtight container. It'll last you a week or two. Makes a lot. Good to give away to friends and family and things like that. So I'm going to raise my heat on up to 350 so my tater will go ahead and get done. It ain't done yet, but we're going to go ahead and raise that up. There we go. Well, our bread has gotten much, much larger. See there? Perfect. So now what we're going to do is we're going to flip this out on a cookie sheet, or baking pan, or whatever you call these things. And we're actually going to flatten that out pretty well. We're going to try to get it into a rectangle. Easier said than done, okay? So we're going to like roll this into a log. Just hope it's as even as it can be across it. Like that. Now trying to even it out, so you may need to go through and squeeze a little bit or whatever you gotta do to make it kind of even. I'm gonna take my ends, I'm gonna pinch them and kind of fold them under there, kind of like you when you're wrapping presents. Roll that under there. Perfect. Now we're gonna cut slices in the top. Our good friend over at Sparks Forge made this. And be sure to check out his Etsy store to check out all his cool things he makes. He's a local blacksmith here. And this is by far the sharpest thing that I have. And it holds the edge really well. So that's what I'm going to use to make my slits. Just like that. Perfect. Alright. We're going to let this rise for another hour. We're going to go ahead and get our spaghetti going. My sweet potato's done. I've already peeled a lot of the skin back off of it. My bread's still rising for just a little bit longer. You can see how big it's gotten. Got to get my noodles going. First thing we're going to do, get the meat in this pan. So when I make spaghetti, I like to do hamburger and sausage. The sausage gives the spaghetti such a good flavor. For years, I only did hamburger. And then I decided to try sausage in it. Took it to a whole nother level. So I just let all that go ahead and start browning. I'm going to pull out my old copy of Self-Reliance magazine. This section, and this is an older copy, so this isn't in the newer one, but this is the kind of stuff you'll find in there. It's a whole section of warm winter pies. And it's all kinds of wonderful sounding pies in here. But this is where I found the sweet potato pie recipe. And let's follow that. The first thing I need to do is get this sweet potato in my bowl and mashed up. Make sure I don't leave no skin on there. I am so excited about this. I've never made a sweet potato pie. Never made one. Don't ask me why. I just ain't. Now it says that we should have enough for about 2 1/4 cups of mashed sweet potato. So that's probably this whole potato. We're going to say yes it is. Oh, that ain't cool. That darn thing's still hot. We're just going to mash this up like mashed potatoes. I think that's good enough. Now we need 5 tablespoons of softened butter. Y'all see how white that butter is? So that's some frozen butter that I had. That is wintertime butter from Candy. You'll notice when there's not a lot of green grass to eat, the butter is not nearly as yellow as when they're on fresh grass. And that's from last winter, probably February, March, something like that. So I'm going to get that all mixed in. Now we need 3/4 cup of sugar, a teaspoon of nutmeg. That's close enough, I'd say. So we need about 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. That one's probably a little more. Get that mixed in. My bread has been rising for right at an hour. I need to go ahead and get that in the oven. We're going to cook our bread for about 25 minutes and then check on it. Y'all look at that. It's beautiful. back to the task at hand. 2 eggs. I happen to have gotten 2 eggs out the chicken house today. Alright, I get them 2 eggs mixed in. Alright. Let me get my spaghetti noodles in here. Now, in our cup, we're going to need 3 tablespoons of heavy cream. So we're just going to scrape that off the top of this right here. To our heavy cream, we're going to add 2 and 1/4 teaspoons of baking powder. Two and 4. We're going to get all that mixed in, that baking powder mixed in with that cream. And we're just going to add that to our mixture here. And we're going to add our sweet potato mixture to our frozen pie crust. So we're going to cook this, let's see. We're going to cook this for around 65 minutes. It says the top should be a little bit brown. So let's do it and we'll see how it turns out. Our bread smells amazing. Alright, we'll go ahead and get our spaghetti made. Alright, we're going to open us up a jar of spaghetti sauce. Always give it a smell, make sure it smells just fine. If I have some ricotta cheese, I like to add that next, but I don't have any today, so we're just going to throw some shredded cheese on there. Put you a nice layer. Well, if you like cheese anyway, like we do. And there's my bread. We'll get that out in a second. Look at that. It's not quite done yet, but we're almost there. We're going to crack us an egg. Get that all whisked up. So now we're going to take our egg wash and paint our bread. We're going to pop that back in the oven for just a couple more minutes. Now that spaghetti will just stay in there until the cheese melts and it'll be ready to eat. Alright, you can see our beautiful bread here. Got a good texture. I don't know if you can tell that from the video, of course, but it's really got a good fluffy texture. We'll cut into that in a minute. Gotta get my spaghetti out. And that's really all it is to making baked spaghetti. Very simple. I really want y'all to see what this looks like on the inside. Look at there. See the good texture? I mean, this stuff actually, it makes really good sandwiches too, because as you can see, it makes a huge loaf of bread. And we'll eat on this for a couple of days. Now, fresh bread, if you're not familiar with it, it won't keep like the store bread. So when you make it, you need to go ahead and eat it or freeze it or something. My sweet potato pie still got about 20 minutes or so. So when that gets done, I'll show you what that looks like. Here is the sweet potato pie.
It looks good, don't it?
It does.
This was good.
Was it good?
It was delicious.
It was good. The sauce always makes it, the homemade sauce. But, so, another cool thing that it said in this book, it said different ways you could eat the sweet potato pie. That lady actually said that she takes those Werther's chocolates and Werther's caramels and melts them in the microwave and pours on top of it.
Really?
Yeah, so that's what, in that magazine, it has little tips on every recipe that people
This
send
was in the Backwoods magazine?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, she said you could do that. That's the way she did. Or you could sprinkle pecans on top. Or you could eat it with whipped cream like we do the pumpkin pie. So I figured tonight.
We're going to eat whipped cream.
Yeah. So I want to see what it looks like on the inside. Stuck the knife in it and it come out clean. So I hope it's done.
I guess it's done. I don't know what the texture's supposed to be like. But that looks pretty good. We got the steam coming off of it.
It does look good. Does make you know what it makes me want to say? Sweet potato pie, shut my mouth. I made it through the whole video without saying it.
You've been wanting to, haven't you?
Yeah. I'll fix me some in a minute.
It fell apart.
I don't know what to say about that. Be my taste tester, dear.
It looks pretty good. You want me to taste it on camera?
Yeah.
So if I spit it out, everybody's gonna get to see it.
I told them I ain't never made one before.
It's still hot.
Is it good?
It's really good. It should have been. You should have made it out of the purple potatoes.
And make it purple.
Make it purple.
That's what I should do for Christmas. Be like, this is a festive pie.
You should. Sure enough. That would have been a good one for Halloween. Like had an orange one and a purple one side by side.
So is it good though?
Oh yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Passes the Andy Lawson test.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
But yeah, see, it's so hot it's melting whipped
See
cream.
that. And don't forget, guys, to check the link in the description in the comments to get 50% off your subscription to Backwoods Home Magazine. And I know y'all are going to love it just as much as we do. But anyways, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed today's video. Hope you might have learned a little something. Until we see y'all in the next one.
Y'all have a good one.
Have a good one.